Book of Genesis says Noah landed here in the mountains of Ararat. So, could this really be Noah's Ark?
What if one of humanity's oldest stories wasn't just a myth, but a memory? Imagine a time between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago when the world was reshaped by unimaginable cataclysmic events, rising seas swallowing coastlines, landscapes disappearing overnight, civilizations forced to adapt or vanish. And amid all this chaos, a story survived, a story of a massive boat built to withstand the greatest flood the earth had ever seen. For centuries, the tale of Noah's Ark was dismissed as legend, a cautionary story passed down through generations. But now, high in the snow-capped mountains of eastern Turkey, scientists and archaeologists are uncovering evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew. Could the Ark, the vessel that carried life through a global deluge, be more than just a story? Could it actually be buried beneath the peaks of Mount Ararat, waiting to reveal secrets that have been hidden for thousands of years? The discovery is both extraordinary and controversial. A mysterious boat-shaped formation stretches over 500 feet, its dimensions eerily matching the specifications recorded in ancient texts. Ground-penetrating radar reveals tunnels, deck-like layers, and unusual features beneath the soil, an underground puzzle that hints at a man-made structure. Organic-rich soil and chemical imprints suggest centuries of rotting wood preserved against all odds. For decades, skeptics have argued this is nothing more than a quirk of nature, but the evidence keeps mounting, leaving both scientists and believers captivated, debating, and questioning what is possible. Today, we dive into the mystery of the Durupinar Formation, where science, legend, and history converge. What lies beneath these mountains, and could it really be the Ark of Noah? High in the rugged mountains of eastern Turkey, a strange formation has puzzled observers for decades. Known as the Durupinar Formation, it stretches an astonishing 538 feet, its elongated shape startlingly reminiscent of a massive boat. From the air, the contours of the mound are unmistakable, an outline that seems almost too precise to be a random quirk of nature. The story begins in the 1950s when a Turkish army captain flying over the remote valleys near Mount Ararat spotted something unusual etched into the earth. From above, the formation appeared as a massive vessel frozen in time, its shape sharp against the surrounding landscape. Word spread quickly, and soon villagers, journalists, and curious travelers were trekking into the mountains to see it for themselves. Local television crews captured the mysterious outline, while the BBC and National Geographic sent film crews and photographers to document what was being hailed as one of the most intriguing formations in the world. Among the earliest researchers captivated by the site was Professor Faruk Chaya of Agri Ibrahim Setsin University. Describing his first encounter with the mound, Chaya told reporters, "It was as if I was walking on the spine of a huge creature buried beneath mud and time. The air itself felt heavy with history." For him, and for many others who visited the formation, the lines and angles seemed too deliberate, too structured to be purely natural. Early surveys measured the mound carefully. Its length almost exactly matched the 300 cubits described in biblical accounts, and its width and height also aligned in ways that defied simple explanation. Yet while the numbers were compelling, skepticism remained. Was this the remnants of a vessel lost to the ages, or merely an extraordinary natural formation shaped by thousands of years of erosion and mud flow? Even in those early years, the Durupinar Formation had begun to capture the imagination of the world. It became a magnet for scientists, archaeologists, and adventurers alike. Each person who approached the mound came away with a sense of awe, a feeling that somewhere beneath the surface lay a story waiting to be uncovered. And this was just the beginning. The first hints of something far more extraordinary were hidden just beneath the soil. Even from the earliest surveys, the Durupinar Formation sparked heated debate. Skeptics insisted it was simply the product of natural forces, millennia of mud flows, erosion, and the slow shaping of the earth. Yet, for those who studied it closely, the formation's dimensions and unusual contours suggested something far more deliberate. Observers noted striking features along the mound. The outline resembled the hull of a massive boat, while subtle ridges and depressions hinted at internal compartments. From certain angles, the mound even appeared to have a central corridor, almost like a spine running the length of the vessel. Measurements revealed that the length of 538 feet closely matched the biblical account of 300 cubits, while the width and height were in the right proportion to the ancient texts. For some, these parallels were too precise to be ignored. The formation quickly drew global attention. Scientists, archaeologists, and even amateur enthusiasts traveled to the remote region, hoping to catch a glimpse of what many considered one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. The BBC and National Geographic brought cameras to document the phenomenon, while local villagers shared stories passed down through generations, tales of a great flood that had once reshaped the land. Among the most vocal early supporters was Professor Farooq Chaya, who spoke of the formation as a living memory of the past. He described walking along the mound as an almost spiritual experience, sensing that beneath the surface lay a story preserved for thousands of years. Yet, even he acknowledged the difficulty of separating myth from reality. It's impossible to claim this is the Ark, he told reporters, but the coincidences are too great to dismiss outright. The controversy deepened as experts weighed the evidence. Geologists emphasized that natural processes could easily produce elongated mounds with unusual features, pointing to erosion patterns and mudslides. Archaeologists countered that while natural forces were powerful, the alignment and proportions observed at Durupinar were unusual enough to warrant closer investigation. The formation seemed to sit at the crossroads of science and legend, a puzzle that challenged both disciplines to reconsider what was possible. As curiosity grew, the formation became more than just a local phenomenon. It was a magnet for researchers with cutting-edge technology, scientists who believed that beneath the surface, secrets were waiting to be uncovered. Secrets that could either confirm the mound's natural origins or reveal something extraordinary hidden for thousands of years. Decades after the first sightings, modern technology allowed scientists to explore the Durupinar formation in ways never before possible. In 2021, a coalition of researchers from Istanbul Technical University, Agri Ibrahim Setsin University, and Andrews University in the United States launched a comprehensive study determined to probe the mound's secrets with precision instruments and a fresh perspective. The team began by employing ground-penetrating radar, a tool capable of revealing structures buried beneath centuries of soil and sediment. As the radar waves penetrated the earth, what emerged was astonishing. Instead of the chaotic jumble expected from a natural formation, the scans revealed a series of linear, layered structures, tunnel-like voids, deck-like layers, and angular features. The patterns suggested design, organization, and purpose, as if the Earth itself had preserved the blueprint of something massive and deliberate. Lead scientist Andrew Jones described the discovery with cautious excitement. "We're not here chasing legends, we're letting the data speak for itself. But what we're seeing is exactly what you might expect if this were a man-made vessel." The team identified 3 distinct layers inside the formation, separated by a central corridor mirroring descriptions from ancient texts. Each layer seemed to correspond with a deck, just as one might find in a massive boat. Soil analysis further deepened the mystery. Samples collected from within the mound revealed nearly 3 times the organic matter and potassium content of the surrounding landscape. These are subtle markers of decayed wood or other organic materials, exactly what one would expect if a large wooden structure had once existed there. Professor Farooq Chaya noted that the chemical composition of the soil was unlike anything he had seen in purely natural formations, a silent record of centuries-old organic decomposition. The team's excitement grew as they discovered evidence of past flooding, Marine deposits, clay layers, and even remnants of ancient aquatic life suggested that the area had once been submerged. Radiocarbon dating of soil samples placed the event between 3,500 and 5,000 years ago, aligning closely with the timeline of the biblical flood. It was as if the mound itself carried a chemical memory, preserving hints of a cataclysm that had shaped the landscape and possibly human history. Even with these compelling findings, the researchers remained careful. Each discovery raised new questions. Was this formation truly man-made, or could natural forces create patterns that appeared deliberate? The team approached every test with rigorous skepticism, yet the evidence increasingly pointed towards something extraordinary hidden beneath the mountains, waiting for the right tools and the right eyes to uncover it. The more the scientists examined the Durupinar formation, the more the story of the mound intertwined with the possibility of a massive ancient flood. Soil samples collected from inside the formation contained clay-like substances, marine sediments, and even traces of seafood, clear indicators that the region had been submerged at some point in the distant past. Radiocarbon dating revealed a striking correlation. The deposits dated between 3,500 and 5,000 years ago, remarkably consistent with the timeline suggested by ancient texts describing the Great Flood. It was a convergence of chemistry and chronology that left researchers both amazed and cautious. Could these layers of mud and marine remnants really be evidence of a cataclysmic flood that inspired one of humanity's oldest stories? The implications were impossible to ignore. Elevated levels of organic matter and potassium inside the formation hinted at the presence of decayed wood or other materials consistent with a large structure. These findings suggested that the mound wasn't just an ordinary geological feature. It may have preserved the remnants of a colossal vessel, buried and protected beneath centuries of sediment. Media coverage of the discovery quickly escalated. Headlines around the world hinted at a possible breakthrough. New evidence at Durupinar Formation supports myth of Noah's Ark, ran one article, while others reported on the chemical analyses and unusual soil signatures that set the site apart from the surrounding landscape. The world watched as scientists meticulously documented their findings, aware that even a hint of confirmation could spark global fascination and controversy. Skeptics, however, remained vocal. Geologists argued that natural mud flows, sediment layering, and erosion could easily create patterns that seemed deliberate. They cautioned against jumping to conclusions, emphasizing that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Yet even as debates raged, the data kept accumulating. Each sample, each radar scan, each chemical reading telling a story that was difficult to dismiss. For the researchers, the evidence of ancient flooding wasn't just scientific data. It was a puzzle piece that connected history, legend, and the physical world. The patterns in the soil, the remnants of marine deposits, and the elevated organic matter suggested that something extraordinary had once occurred here, leaving a lasting impression on the landscape. And as the team delved deeper, the Durupinar Formation began to reveal secrets far more complex than anyone had imagined, setting the stage for discoveries that could forever blur the line between myth and reality. As technology advanced, scientists gained tools powerful enough to peer beneath the Durupinar Formation without disturbing its fragile layers. Ground-penetrating radar, resistivity scans, and advanced imaging techniques began to reveal a hidden world beneath the mound's surface, one that seemed to defy explanation. The scans uncovered a central corridor stretching over 230 feet, flanked by what appeared to be side rooms or compartments. 3 distinct layers, resembling decks, were clearly visible, separated by what could be interpreted as stairways or landings. The precision and organization of these features were unlike anything typically found in natural formations. For the first time, researchers could visualize what might lie beneath the Earth, a structure with defined angles, parallel lines, and compartmentalized spaces that suggested careful design. Lead soil scientist William Crabtree described the moment the team realized the extent of the formation. The ground material inside is very different from the surrounding soil. We see increased organic matter and potassium, which points strongly toward rotting wood, exactly what you'd expect if this were a giant wooden building. His words captured the growing sense of awe within the research camp. Even more astonishing were the resistivity scans. By mapping areas of differing electrical resistance, the team could outline massive ribs stretching beneath the surface, arches that resembled the structural supports of a ship's hull. The hull extended more than 40 feet underground, retaining symmetrical curves that suggested careful construction rather than random geological forces. 3 separate decks were visible, divided by a central corridor, almost perfectly matching the descriptions found in ancient texts. John Larson, a New Zealand engineer leading the resistivity survey, summed up the discovery bluntly. "This is not a random pile of rock. This is a structure that was built, not formed by chance." The scans revealed anomalies that even the most skeptical observers struggled to explain. Burst hull sections, misplaced beams, and layers that hinted at a vessel that may have slid down the mountainside long ago. Every new piece of data added weight to the mystery. The grass atop the formation was a different color than the surrounding area, indicating that something beneath was affecting soil chemistry. Organic material was twice as dense as the soil nearby, and potassium levels were 40% higher, signaling decomposition of ancient wood. The mound wasn't just a passive geological formation, it was an active record of the past, preserving chemical fingerprints that pointed towards something extraordinary buried beneath the mountains of eastern Turkey. Beneath the surface of the Durupinar Formation, the soil itself began to tell a story that was impossible to ignore. Scientists carefully collected samples from within the mound, comparing them to soil from the surrounding landscape. The results were staggering. Organic matter inside the formation was nearly 3 times higher than outside, a subtle yet powerful signal of rotted wood and decomposed organic material. Potassium levels told an equally compelling story. As a byproduct of plant and wood decomposition, elevated potassium suggested that the mound had preserved remnants of a massive wooden structure. Acidity levels were also markedly different. Inside the formation, the soil was distinctly more acidic, evidence of centuries-long decomposition. Outside the formation, the soil remained largely neutral, highlighting a chemical signature unique to the mound itself. Lead scientist Andrew Jones explained the significance to reporters. "The chemical composition we're seeing is unlike anything we encounter in natural formations. The levels of organic material and potassium strongly indicate the presence of ancient wood. These weren't just numbers, they were clues, subtle imprints left by a structure that had long vanished yet continued to speak through the earth itself." Professor Farouk Chaya added perspective. "Walking along the mound, you feel history beneath your feet. But the soil is the real storyteller. It remembers what the eyes cannot see. The chemistry, the organic matter, the subtle differences in acidity, they all suggest something extraordinary once existed here." Even as researchers remained cautious, the data painted a tantalizing picture. Microscopic traces of ancient life, chemical imprints, and unusual soil composition all pointed toward a human-made structure buried for millennia. The mound wasn't just a formation, it was a silent archive of history, holding within it the possibility that one of humanity's oldest stories, Noah's Ark, might not be purely legend. These chemical clues also aligned with geological evidence of flooding. Marine deposits, clay layers, and remnants of aquatic life combined with soil chemistry to strengthen the case for a cataclysmic event. Each sample, each measurement added depth to a narrative that had been buried under centuries of earth, mud, and time. As the sun set over Mount Ararat, the researchers stepped back, understanding that the mound beneath their feet was more than just a curiosity. It was a puzzle, a chemical and structural record, whispering hints of a story that spanned thousands of years. And the deeper they dug, both physically and scientifically, the more the lines between myth, history, and science began to blur. Despite mounting evidence, skepticism loomed over the Durupinar formation. Many geologists insisted the mound was nothing more than a natural formation shaped by thousands of years of erosion, mud flows, and geological forces. To them, the unusual shapes and chemical anomalies could be explained by nature's complex processes, and caution was urged before jumping to any conclusions. Yet, for every skeptic, there was a researcher or believer who saw something more. The alignment of the formation, the apparent decks and corridors, and the unusually high organic content in the soil seemed too precise to be random. Could natural forces really account for the symmetrical ribs detected under the surface? Could the central tunnel and layered decks truly emerge without design? These questions fueled debate, drawing global attention and igniting passionate arguments. Even some of the scientists involved admitted the evidence had limits. Professor Farooq Kiaya, while excited by the findings, emphasized restraint. "We cannot yet declare this the ARK. The evidence is compelling, but it is far from definitive. Patience and further study are essential." Andrew Jones echoed the caution, noting that extraordinary claims required extraordinary verification, even as the data increasingly suggested something extraordinary might lie beneath the surface. Journalists and media outlets amplified the controversy. Headlines ranged from cautious curiosity to outright sensationalism. Some called it the possible discovery of Noah's Ark, while others warned against jumping to conclusions. The story became a global conversation, a tug-of-war between skepticism and wonder. For the people living in the shadow of Mount Ararat, the formation was an object of pride and mystery. To scientists, it was an enigma demanding meticulous investigation. To believers worldwide, it was proof that ancient stories might be grounded in reality. And to millions of observers, the debate itself became part of the fascination, proof that some mysteries endure, refusing to be neatly classified as either myth or fact. As research continued, the line between legend and science blurred. Each scan, each chemical analysis, each discovery deepened the puzzle, keeping the world captivated. The Durupinar formation was more than a mound of earth. It was a stage where history, geology, and human imagination collided, leaving us to wonder, how much of our past is hidden just beneath our feet, waiting for technology and curiosity to uncover it? As news of the Durupinar formation spread, the world's attention turned toward the remote mountains of eastern Turkey. Journalists, scientists, and enthusiasts from across the globe flocked to Mount Ararat, eager to witness what some called one of the most compelling archaeological mysteries of modern times. Headlines speculated wildly: Noah's Ark discovered? Ancient boat found in Turkey? The media frenzy brought the formation and the centuries-old story of the Great Flood back into the spotlight. The potential implications were staggering. If the formation were indeed man-made, it would suggest that the biblical story of Noah was not merely allegorical, but grounded in real historical events. Could this mound hold evidence that ancient civilizations survived a global catastrophe? Could the Ark itself, or at least traces of it, have left a chemical and structural footprint preserved beneath layers of mud and rock? These questions ignited global debate. The formation became more than a subject of academic interest. For believers, it was a tangible connection to a story that had shaped cultures for thousands of years. For historians, it was an opportunity to revisit ancient narratives with modern tools, to see if legend and reality could intersect. And for scientists, it was a living laboratory, offering clues about past climate events, catastrophic flooding, and the resilience of both nature and human ingenuity. Social media amplified the fascination. Videos, photographs, and reports circulated rapidly, drawing millions of viewers into the mystery. Each new discovery, whether it was a radar scan showing layered decks or soil analysis revealing elevated potassium, added fuel to the discussion. Forums and comment sections buzzed with speculation, ranging from cautious optimism to outright skepticism. Even as excitement grew, the scientific community maintained a careful balance. Researchers emphasized that while the evidence was compelling, it was not yet definitive. The mound remained a puzzle, with each piece of data revealing both answers and new questions. Yet one thing was clear: the Durupinar Formation had captured the imagination of the world, bridging the gap between myth and science, past and present. In the shadow of Mount Ararat, the mound stood as a silent witness to history, challenging assumptions and inspiring curiosity. It reminded humanity that some stories, no matter how old, still have the power to ignite wonder, debate, and a relentless pursuit of the truth. And as researchers continue their meticulous work, one question remains at the forefront. Could this formation finally reveal the secrets of Noah's Ark, or will it forever remain a tantalizing mystery? After decades of exploration, debate, and cutting-edge investigation, the Durupinar Formation remains one of the most compelling mysteries of our time. From its striking boat-shaped outline to the layered decks revealed by ground-penetrating radar, from the unusual chemical signatures in the soil to the evidence of ancient flooding, every detail points towards something extraordinary hidden beneath the mountains of eastern Turkey. Yet, despite the tantalizing clues, certainty remains elusive. Skeptics remind us that nature can create astonishing patterns, and extraordinary claims demand extraordinary proof. Believers hold on to the possibility that this formation is more than a geological anomaly, that it is a remnant of the Ark itself, a vessel that carried life through one of the greatest floods in human history. The story of the Durupinar Formation challenges us to reconsider the line between myth and reality. It asks difficult questions about history, science, and the power of ancient narratives to endure through time. Could the Ark truly exist, preserved not in legend alone, but as a chemical and structural memory hidden beneath the earth? And if so, what might it teach us about the world of our ancestors, the forces of nature, and the resilience of human ingenuity? As the sun sets behind Mount Ararat, the mound remains silent, holding its secrets beneath layers of earth and time. Yet, thanks to modern technology and relentless curiosity, humanity is closer than ever to listening to what the soil itself has to say. Perhaps one day we will finally uncover the truth. Until then, the Durupinar Formation stands as a testament to the enduring power of story, science, and mystery, a reminder that some questions, no matter how ancient, continue to beckon us to explore, discover, and wonder. What do you believe lies beneath Mount Ararat? Could this be the Ark of Noah, or is it nature's masterpiece? The answer may forever remain just out of reach, leaving us to marvel, debate, and keep searching.